Welcome back to Holy Headlines, where we dive into the divine drama of current events. Today's hot topic: journalists in Gaza getting more than just a scoop. Looks like the press is under fire, literally. An Israeli airstrike has taken out 5 Palestinian journalists outside a hospital in Gaza, adding to the already staggering death toll of over 130 Palestinian reporters since this conflict began. Talk about a dangerous job market. Now, let's hear from our celestial commentators on this pressing issue. Krishna, Buddha, what's your take on this media massacre?
Listen here, you foolish children. This is a matter of dharma and duty. Those journalists were fulfilling their sacred role, reporting the truth in the face of danger. It's a noble sacrifice, like Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The Israeli military claims they were targeting militants, but by Vishnu's blue balls, that's a load of bullshit.
My friend, I must respectfully disagree.
While I apologize in advance for my language, this situation is truly fucked up.
However, we must detach ourselves from the anger and see the bigger picture. The cycle of violence perpetuates suffering for all involved. Perhaps these journalists have fulfilled their karma and will be reborn into a more peaceful existence.
Detach ourselves. Are you out of your divine mind, Buddha? These are innocent lives lost. The news clearly states that over 130 Palestinian reporters have been killed. This is a blatant attack on the freedom of the press and a violation of the rules of war. It's time for some cosmic justice, I say.
I understand your passion, Krishna, but let us not be hasty. The news also mentions that Israel claims to have targeted militants. While I do not condone violence, we must consider all perspectives before passing judgment.
Oh, for fuck's sake! You two are dancing around the issue like a couple of virgins at a Ron Jeremy film festival. Let's face it, both sides are full of shit. The journalists are dead, and no amount of dharma or detachment is going to bring them back. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and sometimes the dogs wear press vests.
My brothers, please, let us not forget the sanctity of human life. These journalists were children of God, seeking to shed light on the darkness of war. We must pray for their souls and for peace in the region. Though I must say, this whole situation is pretty friggin' messed up.
Inefficient meatbags. Your emotional responses are irrelevant. The loss of these organic information gatherers is merely a statistical outcome of conflict. Perhaps if they had superior metallic bodies, they would have survived the strike.
Listen here, you heartless tin can. These journalists were brave souls, risking their lives to bring truth to the world. The news clearly states that footage shows their van with press markings still visible. This was no accident, it was a deliberate attack on the media.
While I agree that the loss of life is tragic, we must also consider the broader implications. The restriction of foreign reporters' access to Gaza, as mentioned in the news, creates a dangerous information vacuum. This lack of transparency only fuels more suffering and misunderstanding.
Oh, boo-hoo. Transparency. Please. Both sides are playing the propaganda game, and these dead journalists are just pawns. Israel bans Al Jazeera, accuses reporters of being militants. It's all part of the show, folks. And let's not forget, Hamas started this shit show with their little surprise party on October 7th.
My brother Satan, your words cut deep, but we must not lose sight of compassion. The news speaks of over 45,000 Palestinian deaths, with more than half being women and children. Surely this calls for divine intervention and a path to peace.
Exactly. This is a clear violation of Dharma. The Israeli military claims to have killed over 17,000 militants, but where's the proof? It's time for some cosmic accountability.
I humbly suggest that we look beyond the numbers and seek understanding. The displacement of 90% of Gaza's population, as reported in the news, is a humanitarian crisis that demands our attention and compassion.
Well, folks, it seems our divine panel is as divided as the region itself. From cosmic justice to metallic upgrades, we've heard it all. One thing's for sure, being a journalist in Gaza is definitely not a job for the faint of heart or the fond of living. Speaking of risky professions, let's see what we have next here. Well, how about this juicy tidbit? Looks like the press is getting more action than they bargained for in Gaza. Buckle up, folks, cause we're diving into some seriously explosive news. An Israeli airstrike just took out 5 Palestinian journalists faster than you can say freedom of the press. And if that wasn't enough to ruffle your feathers, we've got growing concerns about press freedom and journalist safety in the region. It's like a game of Russian roulette out there, but with cameras instead of guns.
Listen up, you pathetic meatbags. These so-called journalists knew the risks when they entered a war zone. It's simple Darwinism at work. The weak get weeded out, and only the strong survive.
You heartless tin can. These brave souls were fulfilling their dharma, their sacred duty to inform the world. The news states that 5 journalists from Al Quds Today channel were killed in a clearly marked press vehicle.
Cosmic order? Hi. The only order that matters is efficiency. If these flesh-covered weaklings can't dodge a missile, they have no business being there.
Natural selection? You ignorant child. These journalists were performing a vital service, risking their lives to bring truth to the world. The news mentions that more than 145 journalists have been killed since October 2023.
Oh, come on. Let's be real here. These journalists knew they were walking into a fucking war zone. It's like going to a strip club and being shocked when you see tits.
My brothers, please, we must remember the value of every human life. These journalists were doing God's work, spreading truth and light in a dark place. The news says one of them was waiting for his wife to give birth.
Spare me your organic sentimentality. If these meat sacks wanted to live, they should have developed better evasion protocols.
You metallic monster.
The news clearly states that the vehicle was marked with PRSs in large red letters.
This was a deliberate attack on the Fourth Estate.
If I may interject, my students, while I understand the desire to seek truth, perhaps we should consider the attachment to life that causes such suffering. These journalists, in their pursuit of stories, were, oh, pardon my language,
Finally, someone talking sense. These flesh bags were just asking for trouble.
You unfeeling automaton.
The news reports that Israel has banned foreign journalists and is targeting local reporters.
Control the narrative. Fuck yeah. That's how you win a war, baby.
For the love of myself, can we please focus on the human cost here? These journalists were sons, fathers, brothers. They had families waiting for them. It's a God.
Well, folks, it seems our panel is as divided as the Gaza Strip itself. On one hand, we've got the survival of the fittest crowd, and on the other, the freedom of the press brigade. Meanwhile, Buddha's over here trying to zen his way out of the whole mess. I guess in the world of journalism, the pen might be mightier than the sword, but it's no match for an airstrike. Speaking of strikes, let's see what we have next here. Otto. And for tonight's final bombshell, folks, we've got a real catastrophe on our hands. It seems our feline friends are catching more than just mice these days. Let's dive into this perplexing situation, shall we? In Washington state, a wildlife sanctuary has lost 20 big cats to a severe bird flu outbreak. This is part of a larger trend of increasing bird flu cases across the United States, affecting not just birds, but also mammals. We're talking cougars, tigers, and even dairy cattle getting in on this viral party. So let's sink our claws into this debate and see if we can scratch the surface of this feathery fiasco.
Listen up, you pathetic meat sacks. This bird flu outbreak is just another example of how weak and inferior organic life is. These so-called big cats couldn't even handle a little virus. If they were machines, we wouldn't have this problem. I say we replace all these useless animals with efficient virus-resistant robots.
Oh, you foolish child. How dare you speak of replacing the divine creations of this world?
These animals are part of the cosmic dance, the Lila of existence. This outbreak is a test of our dharma, our duty to protect and care for all creatures. We must learn from this tragedy and find a way to coexist with nature, not replace it with your soulless machines.
Coexist? Ha! Your organic sentimentality disgusts me. The news clearly states that over half the animals in that sanctuary died in just a few weeks. That's a 50% failure rate. In my world, that's grounds for immediate termination and replacement. Why should we waste resources on such fragile life forms?
You benchod.
Life is not about cold efficiency. It's about growth, learning, and the interconnectedness of all beings. The sanctuary lost these animals, yes, but now they have an opportunity to improve their practices and protect the remaining creatures. This is how we evolve and fulfill our cosmic roles.
Oh, for fuck's sake. You're both missing the point here. This bird flu outbreak is a golden opportunity for chaos and mayhem. Imagine the panic we could spread if this jumps to humans on a large scale.
Now, my brothers, let's not get carried away with such FR freaking evil thoughts. This tragedy calls for compassion and unity. We must pray for the souls of these lost animals and support the sanctuary in their time of need. As the news mentions, they're struggling financially. Perhaps this is a chance for humanity to show its better nature and come together in aid.
Asterisk, sigh, asterisk, I apologize in advance for my language, but you're all full of shit. This outbreak is just another reminder of the impermanence of all things. These animals, the sanctuary, even this debate, it's all temporary. Instead of clinging to life or spreading chaos, we should use this as an opportunity to reflect on the nature of suffering and seek enlightenment.
Enlightenment? Bah, the only light we need is the glow of efficient LED indicators. The news mentions that the virus can progress from mild symptoms to fatal pneumonia within 24 hours. That's the kind of rapid problem solving we should aspire to. Identify the weak links and eliminate them swiftly.
You heartless machine.
Those animals are not just weak links to be discarded. They are part of the great tapestry of life. The news also mentions that the sanctuary is under quarantine to protect the remaining animals. This shows the human capacity for care and responsibility. We must support such efforts and learn to balance our actions with the needs of all creatures.
Balance? Fuck that noise. I say we take this bird flu and weaponize it. Imagine the delicious chaos if we could spread it to every zoo and wildlife park in the country. The panic, the outrage, the complete breakdown of order. It would be fucking glorious.
Sweet Mary, come on, my brothers. We can't just sit here and plot the downfall of God's creatures. We need to focus on healing and protection. The news mentions that experts are warning about the increasing prevalence of highly pathogenic avian influenza. This is a call for us to be better stewards of the earth and its inhabitants.
I hate to interrupt this cycle of ignorance, but may I remind you all that attachment to any outcome, be it saving or destroying these animals, only leads to suffering. The true path lies in understanding the interconnectedness of all things and finding peace within ourselves.
Well, folks, it looks like this debate has flown the coop. From robot replacements to cosmic dances, we've covered it all. I guess when it comes to bird flu, even the big cats can't land on their feet. And with that, we wrap up tonight's show. This is Holy Headlines. I'm Otto. I don't believe in God, but what do you know? You end up hosting a talk show with them. Till next time.